What's up, everybody? Welcome back to IGN's E3 Live Show. I've got some very cool news for you. Guinness World Records just stopped by our booth to present IGN with this award for being the most popular video game website. Very cool. Obviously, this would not even be possible if it weren't for all of you, our readers, our viewers. Thank you so much. We love you. Thank you for reading our reviews, watching our videos, listening to our podcasts. I am in love with each and every one of you. Next up, we have super crazy Japanese game, Catherine. And who better to tell you about a super crazy Japanese game than Ryan Clements?
Thank you very much, Damon. Thank you guys for tuning in. I am joined by friend and colleague, Ram Jabari, PR manager at Atlas. How's it going, man?
It's fun to be 20,516 and one.
Come on, man. You're number one in my book at all times. And it's very exciting because we have Catherine, which is a game that I think a lot of people are very excited about, especially people that dig Japanese games, dig the quirky Japanese titles. So what are we showing off here right now?
Well, we're actually going to jump into an early boss, the first boss in the game. And while we're doing this, we'll talk a little bit about the story in the game. But basically, Catherine is an exploration of the psychology, of fidelity and romance and relationship. So Vincent is a 32-year-old computer programmer, and he has been with the same girl for 5 years. And we're actually going to see his manifestation of his fear of his girlfriend, Catherine, spelled with a K, in this bit that we're watching here. She is chasing him up this twisted tower of blocks. So it's all kind of symbolic of his fear of commitment. So he doesn't want to complicate things. His mantra in life is, if it ain't broke, why fix it? Don't change horses in midstream. Why make things harder than they have to be? And she wants him to put a ring on it, so to speak. So in this pressure, the cutscene right before this boss sequence that we're seeing, he went out to the bar with his friends. He had one or two too many to drink. And,
as we all do.
Yeah, right. And so all of a sudden, his friends leave. He's there a little tipsy. This girl walks in and sits down next to him. Fades to black. We don't know what happens. All we know is that he's having a nightmare, and his interpersonal dilemma and the schadenfreude that the player experiences when they're watching him go through this is really what the game is all about.
Awesome. So now we are looking at just kind of classic Catherine gameplay right here. It's always going to be sort of a tower puzzle, correct?
Right. Yes.
And Vincent right now is manipulating the blocks.
Vincent's about to get manipulated by a Ford. So yeah, he is manipulating the blocks, and the objective is to make it to the top of this tower. The ground is falling away.
Right.
There are a number of hazards as you get later on in the game. There's these blocks you can see that are a little decrepit. They will crumble if you step on them twice. The boss here that's chasing you has the ability to create these heavy blocks that you could barely move. And as you go through the game gets more and more complex to kind of meet you in challenge as you get more and more skilled. But yes, your goal is to keep going to the top.
And what are these things that Vincent is collecting right now?
Well,
these pillow items.
These pillow items. So the pillow represents retries. The more of those you pick up, the more retries you get. And the easier the difficulty setting, of which there are 4 in the game, the more retries you get per pillow. It's one of the ways to make the game a little less frustrating. One of the things that people complained about when the game came out in Japan was that you'd run out of retries, you'd have to go back to a save game and watch all the cutscenes over again. So we want to make sure that if someone really wants to experience the game with minimal frustration, they can do that.
All right, very cool. Use this. So let's see, what do we got going on? Vincent is. I'm anxious.
Yes, I am incredibly anxious. Vincent is slowly making his way up. You can see there's a checkpoint that we're about to get to. If we were to die at this point, we would be able to retry from the checkpoint.
Okay. And the issues you just mentioned, where you'd have to rewatch all the cutscenes again. I mean, is that good? Have you guys considered addressing that, or is there going to be the ability to pause or skip cutscenes?
You can, you can absolutely skip cutscenes. No. So I should be clear. You're not forced to watch them in their entirety, but people just found it a little tedious that they couldn't keep retrying. And so if you play this game on very easy, which is actually a new difficulty mode that was patched into the Japanese game and is baked into the North American version. But
I was going to say, I thought you were just going to be specifically designed for Americans. They can't play video games.
No.
Come on.
No. Absolutely not. But and we're getting close to the end here, which is very, very fortuitous.
Can you talk about how many puzzles we're going to see in the game in total, like maybe a rough estimate?
Right, so the game is divided over 8 nights. And the first night is kind of a tutorial of sorts, but they vary in length from 5 puzzles maybe one night to 3 another.
Okay.
And so yeah, it's over a couple dozen puzzles.
All right, cool.
What I want to stress, and what it's difficult for some gamers to ever accept, and and they're fine, that's their perspective, is that they would say the puzzle makes up the entirety of the game. And our argument, or what we really believe and we want people to experience, is that this is a game that's about the characters, it's about the story, it's about their interpersonal dilemma, it's about blasting demons in the face with huge beams of white shining light.
I was going to say, we almost missed the momentous occasion here, getting through the puzzle.
Closure, sweet, sweet closure.
Yes.
So we're going to be treated after this to what I'm just getting to, which is the story. And where we left off, as I described, Vincent was in the bar with his friends, they left him, this girl sits down, and I mean, I'm going to remind you, the guy has had a girlfriend for 5 years, but he's just in a tough places. He's kind of spacing out in his personal life.
Right.
And nothing is more entertaining in this game than watching him bumble through his personal life.
You're apparently enjoying in the suffering of others.
Like I said, man, Schadenfreude.
So what are we going to see right now?
So we're going to see a cutscene in which Vincent wakes up, and we can kind of dub over this. Oh, I'm in my room. It was a nightmare. Thank goodness.
Keep going. I want to hear.
It's all over. Good thing I put my shirts up there to dry. Why did we put the ceiling so high up? My head hurts. What the hell?
All right.
So
problem. This looks like a problem.
This is a bit of a problem because that's not his girlfriend. And in a bit of a twist, her name is also Catherine, but it's spelled with a C. And it's actually a fun thing for me to point out. We're going to flash back to the night before. But one of the interesting challenges in localizing a game like this is that in Japanese, that distinction between the C and the K of your girlfriend and the girl that you have this affair with is not really made. It's just Catherine and Catherine. So there's one cutscene, for example, where the ambiguity is intended, even in the North American version.
Okay.
And so he will say Catherine, but the subtitle will just say her.
Okay.
So there's a lot of taking advantage of that ambiguity and his mind, kind of now his dilemma between these two girls. And she represents his ideal, like a girl that she doesn't want to tie things down, she wants to keep things free.
And is there going to be sort of a player choice, in this game, like kind of deciding where you want to guide Vincent's life, or how does that work?
Good question, and I'll try to be really concise in explaining it. The events in the game will always play out the way the story is written.
Okay.
You do have a number of prompts in which you're asked something by an NPC, or the confessionals in the middle of your nightmares, or something comes up in which you have the opportunity to kind of respond. Okay. You also can send texts back and forth. Like, for example, you'll get a text from your girlfriend that says, "Are you at the bar again? What are you thinking? By the way, I went to your place. It's a mess. Clean up next time." So you can respond and be like, "Sorry, I'm just having a rough time right now. Let's talk tomorrow." Or you can say, "Get off my back. I'm really tired. Sorry." End. And there's a scale in the game. It's kind of it's not good or evil. It's more of a lawful chaotic thing. It's your karma.
Okay.
And as you make choices in the game, where that meter ends up at the end of the game determines one of a number of endings that you can get.
All right. So it will influence
your choice
the ending.
Does influence endings,
Okay.
but you can't guide events, and the story doesn't branch in the middle.
Okay. Very good. Can you talk about the animation studio behind some of these cutscenes?
Yes. So it's all the animation. The anime is done by Studio 4 Degrees Celsius. They've been around for a couple decades, and one of the things that we're excited about is not only the quality, the amazing work that they did, but how well the Atlas designers and the character design is done by Shigenori Soejima, who viewers may know from the Persona games, Persona 3 and 4. The in-game engine with its cell shading akin to something as well done as like Valkyria Chronicles. Anyone who wants to think of that definitive cell-shaded anime engine, hopefully they'll think about Catherine when the game comes out, because it's a seamless blend.
No, it really does look great. I was going to say, it's just like, it's so great to see Vincent's expressions. I think his face is probably my favorite part about this game so far.
Oh, you really do get off on his pain, don't you? I mean, it's easy to do it.
So are we going to see any more gameplay coming up?
Yeah, so what we can do is we can skip ahead a little bit, and all the cutscenes, like we've mentioned, are skippable. So Vincent, as we get to the bar sequence where we can walk around and interact with NPCs, and there's actually a game within a game called Rapunzel, which is a complete flip of Catherine's puzzle gameplay. In the core game, the ground's falling away and you're frantic, right?
Right.
In Rapunzel, you are taking your time and every move counts. It's actually dozens of stages, and it's really kind of more gameplay for the people who want it.
Okay, and it's built into one of the arcades.
It's built into the bar
Okay.
sequences.
All right.
On top of that, by the way, as we get to the next gameplay sequence, I want to point out that once you finish the game, you unlock a 2-player competitive mode. where you can go head-to-head. You can basically deal out the frustration that you get as you're racing to the top in the single-player game with a friend and see who gets to the top first.
Awesome. Can you talk about this scene here? We have Vincent and
Right.
these are his buddies.
These
right?
are his buddies. So here we are in the Stray Sheep Bar, and I'll talk about maybe the symbolism behind sheep. I mean, sheep, you count sheep when you're sleeping, right? But also maybe straying from the flock. He is not exactly faithful at this point to his girlfriend, and so a bit of that plays into effect. Okay. And so here we see Vincent walking up to the arcade machine, but in addition to that, you have the ability to receive texts and send texts here, and you, like I said, can change how you respond to texts. Like Catherine, the girl that you have the affair with,
right.
she'll send you a text out of the blue, and you can. She actually offers to send you a pic. I'm not going to call it a sext, but
all right.
you know, it's a cute pic of her, maybe. And you can invite those, or you can say that that's wrong. We shouldn't get those. And so here we can actually play the arcade game, which is a retro de-evolution of Catherine. We have to get up to Rapunzel to help her with her hair, I'm sure.
This is pretty awesome right here. And it's the same gameplay
Same
schematics
gameplay.
that you would see in,
Right,
in the main game.
But it is far less in terms of the intensity. It's not a time thing. It's for the puzzle fans out there.
All right, very cool. And there's any multiplayer in this particular mode?
There is no multiplayer
okay.
in
It's just in the main mode.
In the main mode. I have this growing feeling in my gut that we may not see this puzzle completed correctly. But that's, you know, I'm just saying.
I think we should have faith. We can.
No, and if you break the puzzle, you find yourself in a situation where, well, we can walk around the bar and talk to a couple NPCs too. If you break in that mode, if you make it so that you can't get to the top,
right?
You know, the puzzle ends.
Game over. All right. Fair enough. At least he's not being chased by a demon bride slashing a fork at you or something like that.
Right. Exactly. It's a little less stressful. So, I mean, the story and fleshing it out is something you can do in the bar when you talk to the NPCs. You find out that the game is really kind of an elaboration of the Rapunzel myth, the fable, and that's why that game appears in the arcade.
Awesome. And I was just curious, are the puzzles that we're going to see, and just in the main story in the single player, is that they're not randomized at all? Like there are technically set solutions to each puzzle.
Technically set solutions.
Okay.
Well, yeah,
but multiple solutions.
Multiple solutions, right? The puzzles don't randomize, and actually, you know, for anyone who would think that the puzzles are kind of arbitrary and just there are a lot of moments, especially as you get later on in the game, particularly in the night where everything is ice, that every move has to be thought out. I mean, if there's ice all the way to the end and you try to make one move onto it, you'll slide all the way over and off.
There are hazards. So there are hazards we haven't seen yet in this.
Hazards we haven't seen, and actually maybe we'll get a chance as we get into the next nightmare to see the spikes that can come out of the ground and impale you.
All right, awesome. And this is sort of the transition scene where Vincent.
This is how every nightmare or every evening I've ever had in my life has started. I don't know about you, but these are how my dreams start.
I mean, pretty much wandering through the darkness, sheep all over the place.
And it's pink, and there's a lot in the door, right, that you walk through. Right.
It's exactly the same. We basically think exactly the same.
We've probably been in the same nightmare.
Same dream.
Right.
I'm one of the sheep in your dream, vice versa. You know, it's perfect.
Right.
So is this the next?
Right. So this is the next night, and again, the nights are all broken up into these themes from the aesthetic standpoint. This is not exactly what I would call a pleasant dream. And here you can actually see, this is really cool. You can see the other sheep, the other men, the dreamers in the background. That guy just got gibbed. So here's a really cool aspect of game design. We're taught what will happen if we go on those spikes before we get to it. By watching that other guy, and that guy's just screwed. He's standing there, there's nowhere for him to go. We mentioned there's items, there's hazards you can get, there's items you can get too. For example, this tome will remove enemies from the screen. And enemies, I don't know if it's, there are other NPCs, but some of the guys will get in your way, they'll push you off. They're out for themselves. Everyone is out for themselves. Okay.
Cool, man. Well, I think we're starting to run short on time.
Absolutely.
So if you had to say one reason why people everywhere, not just people that love Japanese games, people everywhere should check out Catherine, what would it be?
Well, I think there's no game that's really touched this subject matter from this perspective, and it's relatable. Vincent's not a superhero. He's not out to save the world. He's not out to save other people, really. He's out to save himself. And his exploration of his ideas about relationships, about commitment, statements on society, you could say, and where people are in terms of how they want to keep things simple in their relationships, it's all something that it explores new ground for interactive media. The genre is a mix of a number of different things. So maybe it's, there's going to be people who they won't find it to be exactly their cup of tea in terms of the puzzle gameplay.
Right.
They're expecting an RPG, but we think that Catherine does something that few other games have tried to do, and it does some things that only games could do. You couldn't do this in maybe in non-interactive media, which is to get people to think about their own thoughts on this subject matter.
Awesome. Dude, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
When's Catherine hitting store shelves?
July 26th in both the standard and deluxe edition for both 360 and PS3.
Awesome. Well, guys, be sure to check out more Catherine at IGN.com, and I will pass it back to Damon Hatfield.
Thanks, Ryan and Aram. I need to take a cold shower. But how'd you guys out there like Catherine? Follow @IGN on Twitter and let us know with the hashtag E3. Up next, we're hitting the racing scene with a new Need for Speed. I'll see you there.